Alrighty, UFC 247 was headlined by Jon Jones versus Dominic Reyes. The co-main event was Valentina Shevchenko versus Caitlin Chukagian. That followed Juan Adams versus Justin Tafa. Mirzad Bektik fought Dan Ige, and Derek Lewis fought Yair Latifi. I honestly only saw part of the Shevchenko fight and then the main event, so I'll just read you guys off the results of all the other main card fights. Derek Lewis won by decision. Dan Ige also won by decision. Justin Tafa won by a first round KO TKO. Valentina won by a third round KO TKO. She's so dominant. She's such a beast. I don't see anybody beating her anytime soon. And then the main event, the controversial main event in Jon Jones versus Dominic Reyes. So this is one of, I would say, the second, probably the third fight in recent history where Jon Jones is matched up with someone that's like his height. Other ones in recent history, I would say, other fighters in recent history, maybe Anthony Smith, Alexander Gustafsson, definitely, and the Thiago Santos fight. Similar to them, Dominic Reyes is, a tall, long, and really athletic fighter. He's 12-0, undefeated coming into this fight. He previously played football at the college level, couldn't quite make it to the NFL, but really athletic, explosive guy. After college, set his sights on fighting, and has obviously been doing very well, enough to get a light heavyweight title shot. Unfortunately for him, he went up against probably the best MMA fighter of all time. I could say arguably pound for pound the best, but he's been so dominant that it's not really an argument. He's 26-1. His one loss was disqualification in a fight that he was clearly winning, and the referee wound up disqualifying him for a controversial illegal elbow, a 12-6 elbow, which is illegal in the UFC. So he's technically considered undefeated, even though his record shows 26-1. He is the youngest ever light heavyweight champion in the UFC and has actually fought all the greats while they were still in their prime. And he was like the up-and-coming new guy. And he beat all of them handily. Like my favorite fighter of all time, Lyoto Machida, Rampage Jackson, DC Daniel Cormier twice, one of which was like a epic war. Rashad Evans, Vitor Belfort, the list goes on and on and on and on. But anyway, fast forward back to this fight against Dominic Reyes. I feel like this fight was similar to the Thiago Santos fight where Jon Jones didn't really show up in the dominant fashion that he normally does. Now, I don't know if that is a result of Dominic Reyes just being like really great competition, or of lack of preparation on Jones' side, or just the way, the stylistic matchup is and the way the fight unfolded. But from the outside looking in, from someone that knows nothing about martial arts except, being a fan, so obviously take what I say with a grain of salt, it seems like Jones has these dominant, demolishing bouts. Then he has a couple of, I don't want to say like boring fights, but they just don't seem like as creative striking wise, and it seems like he's like going through the motions in there and like doing just enough to win. Now, this fight was very close. Dominic Reyes, in most folks' opinion, including mine, won the first two rounds. The third round is up for debate. That could have gone either way. That was a very back and forth round. And then the fourth and fifth, the championship rounds, Jon Jones won handily. And I remember waiting with anticipation when they were announcing the decision. I pretty much just felt like if it went to Dominic Reyes, I see why. But if it went to Jones, like I'd see why also. You know what I mean? Like Dominic Reyes didn't do like enough to like, how they say to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. He definitely didn't do that. But it was so close that if it did go his way, it was like, okay, so they must have scored the third round in his favor. But it didn't go that way. It went to the champ, Jon Jones. He retained his title. And I think it would make for an interesting rematch if they run it back. Same with the Thiago Alves fight. That'll be interesting to see again because he was hurt during that fight. And it was, again, close during the early rounds. And Jon Jones is still really young. He's 32 years old. Again, he was the youngest ever light heavyweight champion, has been defending that title ever since. And his biggest knock is that he's his own worst enemy in terms of shit that he gets into outside of the octagon, from drugs to DUIs and just dumb shit. But seems to be on the straight and narrow now. And it's up to him. It seems like how long he wants to reign as champion. The biggest controversy out of the fight, I would say, was the judging. There was one judge, which is a judge that's known to just give horrible decisions, that scored it 4 rounds to 1 in favor. I don't remember in favor of who, but in favor of one or the other, right? In favor of either Jon Jones or Dominic Reyes. But the first 2 rounds were clearly Dominic Reyes. The 4th and 5th round were clearly Jon Jones. And the 3rd round was the toss-up round. So if somebody gave like a 3-2, if they had like a 3-2 split or something like that, that obviously makes sense. But 4-1, like, most folks were like disgusted with that. And it brought up the whole conversation again of having to revamp the judging system and the point system within UFC, since MMA as a sport adopted the boxing criteria for judging, like 3 judges and the 10-point round system and stuff like that. It doesn't really fit for MMA because it's such a multifaceted sport. It's a combat sport with so many variables, and coming up with like a comprehensive system, point system and judging system that is more fitting for it would obviously be a huge feat. But the decision here just, highlighted and reminded of the need for it. Anyway, that's my take on UFC 247. I am excited for this weekend coming up. March 7th, 2020, we got Stylebender Israel Adesanya versus the Soldier of God, Yoel Romero. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Stay tuned for my feedback on that card for sure. And it's a pretty stacked card in and of itself. You got Derek Brunson's fighting, Alex Oliveira's fighting, Neil Magny, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Weili Zhang, and of course the main event, Stylebender versus the Soldier of God.